Hello, everyone. Today we are on our second lesson about Passover. First of all, it's our last also because
Did you get your card?
please turn off your cell phones. Next week we're not going to have a lesson on April 10th, neither on the 17th nor on the 24th. We have like a 3-week break now. Okay. Hi Elizabeth. I'm just saying that next week we're not going to meet.
Okay.
And also not on the 17th and not on the 24th. So we
Okay,
have a
that's
three
That
week.
long to get rid of the hummus.
Yeah, exactly. That means everyone has
to
to clean, get rid of your chametz,
Maynard.
etc.
Basically, you're on your own.
Yeah, exactly. And if you have any questions, or if you want to come to my house to clean because you have free time now, you can also do that.
I
Right?
have
I'm giving you all the options.
I have offered not to clean, but to come and have somebody cook.
Oh, that
I
would be
have never
nice.
been taken up.
Ooh, okay, that'd be good.
Tasted my food.
Today, last time we talked about, the meaning of the holiday in the Bible, etc. We talked about chametz, the leavened bread, why it has to be out of our homes, etc. And today, what we want to focus more is about the Seder, okay, and the Seder plate, the cups of wine, the matzah, the Passover Haggadah, Passover foods, and maybe we sing a few songs, and then talk about Passover in the synagogue and Passover in other traditions and religions. First we start with the Seder, okay? The Seder night is really the most important sort of like. Are you ready?
I'm sorry.
Okay, unless you were sharing a Passover recipe, please pay attention to the class, okay? So the Passover Seder is really, something that's been celebrated for thousands of years in Jewish communities. Is really a Greek invention. Okay, it doesn't come from the Jewish religion in the sense the whole order of the Passover. Okay, the sages. Sorry.
That's the way you do it.
Remind me to put it back after. At a certain time, okay, when the Greek, the Hellenistic culture ruled the world and was the main, not religion, but the main culture of the world, of philosophy, etc. The Jewish sages decided to imitate the Greek feast, philosophical feast that their philosophers and thinkers used to have. They would gather around in a banquet form. They would lay down on beds, leaning to the left. Okay. They would have cups of wine. How many cups of wine? They would have 4 cups of wine. Okay. And they would eat hors d'oeuvres at the beginning, which would be vegetables and salted water. And they would talk about philosophy, about life, about the gods, on Zeus, and on the Olympus, and about, what is the meaning of, beauty, and what is the meaning of, life and death and good and bad and evil. And they would have these discussions all night, and people would come in and watch them the way they do that, and slaves would serve them because they were the masters. The rabbis saw this model, which was very famous and very well known around the whole world. Everyone saw these feasts that the Greek philosophers had, and they said, we will do the same thing, but we will make it Jewish. We will convert these feasts, okay? And we will have a feast of our own where everyone's equal, there are no slaves, okay? We will also recline to the left. We'll be sitting on these beds. Everyone will have their own plate with their hors d'oeuvres, etc. Okay, and that plate, very similar to the Seder plate, the round plate, was like a small table. You know, like these small tables that today, you know, so everyone, there was not a big table that everyone shared, but around the big living room, everyone had like their own table, but it was a plate. Okay, it was a table plate, and they had different parts and symbols, just like the Greek did. And they had the cups of wine, and they had these questions that you would ask these questions, which is like, Ma nishtana layla zeh, how is this night different than all nights? And then they would go on into all these discussions. So the rabbis basically took the same format that the Greeks had and just converted into a Seder. How do we know that? Because the Seder doesn't appear in the Bible. Okay, the Bible we read last week tells you to take the lamb, tells you to make the matzah, and it tells you that when your children ask you questions, you answer their questions. But it doesn't tell you in what format. It doesn't give you like the whole, you know, Haggadah for Passover that we have. That text doesn't exist there. So all of that came much later, and it was done by the rabbis. Okay, probably 1500 years after the Exodus from Egypt. That's when we have evidence probably of the first Seders. Okay, until then it wasn't done in that way, which is really fascinating. And actually it was very smart by the rabbis to do that, because that really created the whole atmosphere that a family gets together, a family sits and sings songs, a family unites, you know, over the Seder. You bring other families together as well. And this is a good way to bond and pass on that tradition from generation. So this is really the origin of the Seder. Interesting, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Now, the preparations for the Passover Seder are very, you know, complex, as every, you know, Jewish wife, okay, and men should also know. It's a lot of work to prepare, because on top of koshering your home and getting all the kosher food and everything, you also have to have, you know, a beautiful table set up, and it also has to have different elements to it, which are the Seder plate. Okay, what is that Seder plate? We open our Haggadahs, okay, and we have a picture, a Seder plate. Okay, can I just have some more water, please?
What is it, oh, water?
Yeah.
Maybe want a bottle?
Yeah, thanks. So the Seder plate, okay, as it says at the bottom, the Seder plate is placed on the table in front of the leader. A special Seder plate or a regular large platter may be used. Shown above is a traditional assembly of the Seder plate, which includes the following, okay? Roasted shank bone of lamb, okay? You see that, the roasted shank bone, that's the zoa. And that really comes to show that God took us out of Egypt. The verse says, "Biyad chazaka u'b'zorah netuyah," like with a strong hand. Okay, so we have like the shank bone, like the, you know, the arm that like God took us out in great mighty with His hand. So that comes to imitate that part, and also the sacrifice that was done, that we read about it last week, the lamb, the Paschal lamb. It comes to remember that. The hard-boiled egg, okay, that comes to commemorate the special Passover sacrifice, which is an additional sacrifice that was done in the times of the temple. The bitter herbs, cut into small pieces, or use grated fresh horseradish. You see in the middle there with the picture, okay?
I can look with her.
That's the maror.
This one here.
Perfect. Sorry.
Okay, the maror is the bitter herbs, and that comes to remind us that the work that the Israelites did was bitter. Okay, they worked as slaves and they had a hard time. Okay, so we eat that, we start crying, we start being bitter, and we remember what it was to be slaves. The next one is the charoset, a mixture of finely chopped apples, nuts, and cinnamon mixed with a little wine. Well, that's one way of doing it, but there are many different ways of doing the charoset, which you see on the right side and the bottom. That's actually, not exactly the way we do it. Every family has their own tradition, and
That's the kind of rose.
and actually the Yemenites have a completely different one. Other traditions use dates or silan, and not honey. So they're really different ways of doing it. But that really comes to symbolize also the cement that the Israelites used when they were slaves, because they had to build the pyramids, right? So they put the cement in between. So that symbolizes that hard work as well, and the cement that they did. The fifth thing that needs to be there is the karpas. Either parsley, celery, lettuce, or potatoes may be used. By the way, some people use the lettuce for the maror, for the bitter herbs. There are different traditions, but the karpas, okay, really comes to commemorate the spring, and that it's time of renewal. So all these green vegetables give us, that's this time of this is the season of renewal, etc. And the chazeret, which again is romaine lettuce or fresh horseradish, is a different form of the maror. So there are two interpretations what needs to be the maror. By the way, there's a mistake here because it says in Hebrew it says karpat instead of karpas. That's not good. Okay, so this is one Haggadah, for example, and there are many different Haggadot that people use. I actually asked Larry, because he said he has a collection of some Haggadot, to show us what you've got and where you brought it from. And if anyone else brought Haggadot, Lonnie?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Well,
Okay, so Larry
Well,
first, and
this
then
is-
maybe you could pass it around
I will.
afterwards.
This is I would say my favorite, but this is an illustrated Haggadah. It's quite beautiful. I don't remember when I got it, but the beginning shows scenes from the Torah. There's Adam and Eve, Noah and the ark, Abraham and Isaac, Jacob and the ladder, and then we get into it, and you can see it's all illustrated. The writings look like would be a sofer who would
From the Middle Ages,
Yeah. The Hebrew, and it's pretty straightforward and traditional. I'll pass it around
Here,
and take a look
pass
at
it
it.
this way, so, yeah,
Okay.
and then we'll go this way.
This one I picked up, I don't know how many years ago, when Maxwell House used to give out these Haggadahs in the supermarket. And it's, very traditional, Hebrew, English. There's a picture of the Seder plate. This one I'd used for many, many years. I don't remember.
I had that one in Hebrew school.
First copyright's 1949, 56, 63, 66. Yeah, I use this all the time, actually, for Pesach.
It's funny, this Maxwell House,
Interesting,
it's
by
like,
Nathan
goes
Goldberg.
back to 1945 or something.
Oh, okay, so it's even older.
Yeah, then that's the one that's.
Well, here's another one from Maxwell House, Deluxe Edition.
oh, I know that.
Oh, wow.
I don't know what makes it deluxe.
It's blue.
1993, General Foods, okay. Look at that one.
beautiful.
And this one is a very nice Haggadah with, she's got it too, with comments by Elie Wiesel.
Oh,
And I believe, it's really educational when you go through it and no, it's pretty easy to follow.
Oh, actually, let me
These
also
old
show the people
woodcuts
here
used to scare me when I was a little kid.
on the Zoom. Oh, this looks nice.
That first one you sent around, beautifully done.
Isn't it beautiful?
That's a,
I don't even remember when I got it, but I got it for its beauty. This is the one the synagogue has been using for its,
It's the Rabbinical Assembly, I think, it's a conservative.
yes, it says the Rabbinical Assembly. Let's see.
Ooh,
And
this
this
is very
one,
good.
I got some years ago.
Did you enjoy using that one?
This one? No.
Really?
I did not like it.
Really? Interesting.
You know, what can I tell, you know, it's fairly modern and, but another one.
Okay, yeah, interesting. It was done by, these two rabbis, a father and a son, and it's very popular in Israel. But there's a lot of stuff in it. You know,
Yeah, there's
sometimes
an
too
awful
much,
lot of
yeah.
stuff. And then these are Haggadahs that we both made and had when my kids were, you know, pre-K. This is the Safel family Haggadah
Oh, wow.
that we did. It's all in English. Obviously a very shortened one.
You printed this?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, it's a lot of work. That's nice.
that's a super one.
Oh, so you use this along with the traditional Haggadah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Pick and choose.
Yeah, very nice. Oh, very nice.
This was one my son, who recently passed away, did when he was in preschool, I believe, or, yeah, this is when he was at Tuvia, which is a temple menorah. And so this is another one for, young children.
That's nice that they did Haggadah like that.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know, has a song in here, oh, listen, King Pharaoh, let my people go. If anybody remembers that one.
Oh, wow. Nice.
And
That's nice.
this one is primarily in English with a little bit of Hebrew in there. That was also one.
Uh-huh.
And let's see, this was called the Reuben's Passover Haggadah. I remember printing it out from online. And it was just kind of interesting. It's all English with some illustrations in there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see,
Oh, wow.
this is not a Haggadah, this was Operation Moses, Joshua and Solomon, and let's see.
Oh, wow.
Oh, and this is a Haggadah, edited and commentary written by Rabbi Ron Schulman, March
We're still using
2002. And it's
It's
pretty
all good.
traditional.
Uh-huh. Oh, wow. He did this here, near Tamid, or?
Yeah,
Oh, wow. That's very interesting. Oh, wow.
This is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Gosh, it's like a work of art.
isn't that beautiful?
What is the
Absolutely
significance of this? Is that
Eileen,
Reuben's
Eileen's husband,
Passover?
Bob.
I think it's an artist, a certain artist that did it.
And here's a Haggadah, it says, Temple Ramat Zion from Northridge, California.
Oh,
I don't know who
Is that
created it.
Christmas?
my father was a rabbi there. but-
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, but this is before he was there. Oh, very interesting. Oh, wow. Looks very nice as well.
How do you determine which one you're gonna use?
I'm sorry?
How do you determine which Haggadah you're gonna use?
Depends on who was at the table.
Right.
You know, with little kids, we do a lot of the early stuff.
And how
And
many copies you have to,
do we have?
Some of the funnier
copies
songs
of
of
the
it.
Haggadah, you have a crowd.
We did that
Oh,
at Silverstone.
Probably I've got more of these,
Yes, yes,
but
so I have.
there are times when I'm at the table and I'll have 3 spread out because I might wanna choose some commentary from one of them. Here's one for my youngest son when he was in preschool, by Arnold Pins. So it's all very illustrative and very simple for young kids,
Oh, cute.
which I think is very helpful. It's very easy to read and understand.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And this is my favorite. This is called the 2-minute Haggadah.
Oh,
That's the one.
Opening prayers. Thank God for creating wine. Drink wine. Thanks for creating produce. Eat parsley. Once we were slaves in Egypt, now we're free. That's why we're doing this. 4 questions. The answers. Speaking of children, we hit some lots. Whoever finds it gets $5. So
that's hilarious.
I think you can find that online somewhere.
That's cute.
We got a
I'm sure
kick
that
out of
it's
it.
popular.
That's
There are
cute.
food stains on this one.
Oh, well, it's been used, you know.
It is. That's awesome. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
Larry.
one of the things we implemented, I don't know how many
Cute,
other
well.
people do it, but that since we have 3 kids and we break the matzah for the afikomen, we took 3 pieces so that each kid got to look for the afikomen, not one, and they, tear the place a house. And I think the way we did it was, we did one of them that was almost in plain sight and let the younger one go out and find it first, and then progressed up the ladder with age. And it's amazing that the older kids wanted to look in the most difficult places where you hit it, rather than looking for the obvious. I once put a afikomen right in front of a photo, and they missed it completely. Just walked right by it.
Yes.
No, that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Larry. This is very interesting to see all the different traditions that you've had over the years, especially, the traditional Haggadahs, but also all these additions that you brought. You'd like to make it more meaningful, etc. Lonnie, you also had you
Well,
brought something
what I
interesting to
have
us?
here is a compilation of a lot of different Haggadahs, and it's really an APAC
Oh,
Haggadah, and it's from 2007, that's when we started. And about the afikomen, our cousin had just redone his house, and the thought of children rampaging through was too much for him. So he gave the afikomen to the kids to hide, and he looked for it.
Oh,
that's
that's
fun.
not neat.
Yeah, he just couldn't stand the thought.
I like that.
yeah.
So that, it was something. It's different, and we start out and we say how grateful we are that we live here. And then we sing this America the Beautiful, and of course, Israel too, and then we do something that's hugely embarrassing for all of our grandchildren. We introduce them.
Oh,
It's horrifying, totally horrifying. But we had 8 children generally. We have our 6 grandchildren and 2 of our great niece and nephew. So even though they're purple by the time they stand up with pain, this is something that the family enjoys and everybody applauds. So, and they need to be recognized.
yeah.
It's just different. And something that we do every year. There's a prayer called A Prayer for When Our Country Is at War by Naomi Levy, and or Levy, and we always say that, we're thinking at the time that this is about the United States, but of course now it's a whole different
Right.
meaning. And then we talk about Tom Lantos, who was a Holocaust survivor who was a representative from California. And that was very inspiring.
Wow.
So, and then it just sort of goes on to the general Haggadah that we've had over the years. This is just a copy, and of course, Harry's is a general mess. Because this year he does this, next year he doesn't do that, and
Oh, cool,
and
that's
and
really
I love
nice.
this, wait to drink wine at the end of next page. You can see that, things he liked and he didn't like.
Yeah, they tend to have wine stains,
Yeah,
all
well-
over there.
Yeah, we have it.
Thank you.
That's really beautiful, and it's really nice to see that he sort of like prepares. He doesn't just come to the Seder, he marks, he thinks
Well,
about what he's gonna
wherever we
do.
are at the year,
Yeah.
what's going on.
Yeah, make it relevant. I think that's a beautiful custom, and throughout the years, people have always had different ways of making the Seder meaningful and relevant, for this year. That's part of the tradition. Actually, Margie came over earlier and brought me something from Hadassah Women that I wanted to give out because I read it and I saw it. It's so nice. I hope that's okay.
That's all.
Yeah, well, actually, you have it. So you pass it along. And this is, for this year, after October 7th, we are obviously, all gonna be thinking about it in our Seder. One of the things that, the hostages headquarters in Tel Aviv, they are recommending that everyone, Steve, the hostages headquarters in Tel Aviv are recommending for every family when they're hosting the Seder to have an empty chair. Maybe with maybe we could put a poster, a poster, we have some in the office, okay, you could take some. I have to find out, I think they're still there, you can ask Ellie. And sort of like not to forget them and make sure they are with us at the Seder with us. And of course, Israel's gone through such a big trauma, so I like the fact that, you do something a little bit out of the ordinary. And the idea here is that you take a fourth matzah, you're supposed to only have 3 matzahs. If you take the fourth matzah, it's sort of like a matzah of healing, refuah, which is healing, and also bringing the people of Israel together. So a lot of people need physical healing, we need healing as a people, as a world. So having like a fourth matzah and maybe reading this part could be something very nice. Maybe we'll also do this at the second Seder of the synagogues, okay?
This will make everybody cry.
Well, it's an emotional, it's an emotional.
It's a nice idea.
Yeah, so everyone
Good thing
could
to
take
add.
one. Yeah, you could take one and add that as well. So if we go, I just want to go over sort of like the main parts of the Haggadah, okay? So go to page
And on Haggadah.
well, yeah, right, we're talking about this one, okay? So on page, oh, look at that, they don't have all the simanim, that's interesting. I know I wanted the other one. Yeah, so open on page 7. So on page 7, we have the washing of the hands, where you don't say a blessing, but before you eat fruits or vegetables, in ancient times, you were supposed to wash your hands in a ceremonial way. So we don't use it, we don't do that nowadays, but we commemorate what was done in the past. So we are sort of like eating in purity, and with pure hands during the Passover Seder. Then we take the karpas, okay, which is the parsley or other vegetables that symbolizes the spring and the renewal in the air. We dip it in the salt and the salty water, which sort of like reminds us of the tears of the people of Israel. Someone said here before about crying. So yeah, we are supposed to sort of like shed a tear for the suffering of the people of Israel in Egypt. And then comes Yachat, which is breaking the middle matzah and putting aside half, okay, the larger half actually, in a piece of cloth, which is called the afikoman, okay? Afikoman is the part of the matzah that you eat at the end of the Seder. It's like the last part that you eat, okay? And after that, you're not supposed to eat anything more. And it's sort of like, so you stay with the taste of the matzah, okay? Like you start the Seder with, you end the Seder with a taste of the matzah, so you sort of like remember, you sort of like, that was like good. You don't end it with dessert, right? It's like, because then he's like, oh, it was a great dessert. You end it with a matzah, so you remember, that Seder night will be memorable. On page 8, okay, we take the other matzah and we lift it when we show it, and we say, "This is the bread of affliction which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt." Okay, and let all those who are hungry enter and eat thereof, and all who are distressed come and celebrate the Passover. Notice, what language do we say this in? Aramaic. Okay, this is not Hebrew. The Haggadah is in Hebrew, okay? But this part is in Aramaic. Aramaic was the lingua franca of ancient times. Everyone spoke Aramaic like people speak English today. So this is deliberately said in Aramaic, so everyone around the table understands. And also, if there are any poor people outside on the street and they want to join us for the Passover Seder, we welcome them. It's like, come, everyone is welcome to come to the Seder. It's a big mitzvah to have people, of all backgrounds in your Seder. Okay, the next part is number 9, which is the Manishtana. Okay, and these are the 4 questions, and this is like, it's like a setup scenario where you have the youngest child asking the questions. We all know the answers because they're printed here, but he's very happy because he gets to ask questions and sing them, etc. And we get to answer him. So it's like a setup play in a way, right? Because it's like a script of a play that's written here. You ask a question, I give you an answer. You ask a question, I give you an answer. Kids wait for that. They like that ceremonial thing that repeats itself year after year. And we get to tell the questions. And then obviously we have different parts that we add to the Seder plate as well.
Rabbi,
Yeah?
would you like to explain why we have the 4 questions asked before any of this actually happens?
Why do we ask these questions before what
It
happens?
really should be at the end of the.
Oh, yeah, that's a very good question. Okay, do you have an answer?
Yes,
Okay,
I
good.
have an answer.
That's like in the Seder, you ask a question, but you know the answer already, yeah.
It's the only question.
The rabbis recognized that children would go to sleep. and would
Right,
Never be awake to hear the whole Magid. So they decided to put it up front when the children were awake to ask the questions, even though they haven't gone through what the questions are addressing.
right, yes, very good. I heard that answer and I think it's a very smart one. And you also want to do all that stuff that kids participate, get their, attention, and then you keep them up to the food. They're hungry. They're not going to go to sleep, without eating anything. By the way, you're not supposed to eat anything on Passover day, like, before Passover begins. You have to stop eating from like 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So you come to the Seder and you're hungry and you have an appetite. Okay? Or in Jewish families, you're all nervous. Where's the food? Where's the food? You're like, go faster. No, so you gotta calm down.
Can you
What?
feed people before the Seder starts?
Well, actually, that's very interesting. A lot of families with children, when they put out the karpas, the parsley, and the salt water, that's not very filling. Okay, so what they do is they put all kind of different vegetables and all kind of different salads, and even eggplant with tahini, and all these Israeli salads like hummus and tahini, and they have everything that's a vegetable, they add to the table. So you have like a whole feast of vegetables before you start eating the meal, so people are calmed down. And I even saw people bring artichokes, so that kids you start eating the artichokes, and you're talking and everything, so you're distracted, you're not as hungry. And then when you get to the meal, you'll eat the meal, because you didn't eat matzah, you didn't eat meat yet, but at least you had those parts. So you're able to have some kind of hors d'oeuvres is extended. It's much more than just the parsley and salt. So I like that tradition because it gives you more time to focus on the discussion and go more deep into that.
In our family, we don't eat a main course.
Oh,
We do all the, soup, all that kind of stuff that everybody looks forward to, and we go right to dessert. And nobody seems to care.
oh, okay.
It makes it so much easier for me.
Okay, good. So that's the main part.
Yeah.
And you can enjoy Passover as well.
Yes.
That's important. Okay, then on page 11, at the bottom, we have the 4 sons. And in more, modern Haggadot and feminist Haggadot, there are 4 daughters as well. I've seen that as well. And we have the wise man, we have the wicked son, we have the simple son, and we have the son that has no capacity to inquire. And these represent sort of like the different parts of the people of Israel. The ones who are like, smart and want to learn and be educated. The ones that are wicked, that are like, they don't care about anything about their Jewish heritage. It's like, that's yours, that's not mine, I don't care about it, etc. There's the simple ones, the one that, they want to do things, but they don't know what, so you have to sort of like tell them. And the one that doesn't even have the capacity to know what he doesn't know. He doesn't even know what to ask. So you have to outreach to them and sort of like bring them in. Okay, so I see this, also the role of a rabbi, for example, is to work with all kinds of people in the people of Israel. They, there's the ones that are, the wise one, the ones that come to the rabbi's class and they want to learn, etc. But then there are the ones, I wouldn't call them wicked, but the ones that are like, we don't want anything to do with this, and then they come sometimes to my office and they want to argue. They want to say like, this doesn't matter, this doesn't matter.
Type.
Yeah, right. So I had a good time with them, because but it's always interesting to see that. And then the simple son is the one, that he's like, what is this? Like, what are you doing here? So he's not asking it in a negative way, but he needs explanations. And then there are the ones, that have completely, been away from their Jewish heritage. They don't even know they're Jewish, or they know, but they have, and you have to really draw them in. You gotta work with them to bring them in. So I think it's interesting that we can have that analogy as well. Okay? Yeah. The next one I wanted to talk about is on page 18, and that is the 10 plagues. So, I don't know if you have that tradition that you take like the cup of wine, okay, and you put your finger, sometimes some people put their, pinky, yeah, and after each plague, you take a little bit drop of wine, okay, and you put it in that little plate, and that really, symbolizes the blood, which is like the first plague. It symbolizes that part. In Iraqi Jews, for example, I once attended a Seder of Iraqi Jews. They don't do that.
Yeah.
They, at that point, you know what they do? They cover all the cups of wine. They put napkins on them, okay? And that is sort of like their tradition of why they do it. I don't know, but it's like maybe, against the evil eye or something. When they saw us doing that, they was like, what are you doing? It's like, that's terrible, you can't do that. And they covered, all their cups of wine. So there are different traditions of different Jewish, origins, which is, I think, very interesting
Is it only
to
the
see.
Iraqis?
No, I think others do, I think there are others as well,
So they just,
Sephardi origins.
they cover the wine for the whole,
For the whole, when you say the 10 plagues, when we do like this for each plague, they
then they
cover
just
it.
and then they uncover it again.
Yeah, after, you gotta drink, you gotta continue the meal.
Drink.
Yeah, you gotta drink, okay? You say each of these plagues because you wanna remember what happened to the people of Egypt. And it's like, it's a big part of the education of a little kid when you teach them about Passover. And basically, the Magid is really talking about all that the people of Israel went through. On page 20 is a very interesting song, okay, which we could sing now, okay? Let's first sing it and then I'll explain it, okay? Die, Dayenu, die, Dayenu, die, Dayenu, 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 die, Dayenu, die, Dayenu, die, Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu. Otsianu ממצרים לא עשה בהם שפטים דיינו די דיינו די דיינו די דיינו 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 די דיינו די דיינו די דיינו דיינו דיינו. This is a very Jewish song. First of all, the melody, it's beautiful, we all love it and know it, but it talks about thanking God for all that you've done that's been wonderful, okay? And if you would only do that, we would be dayenu, that we would be satisfied, that would have been sufficient. But you did even more, okay? So that's even better. And we're very happy with what the addition that you made, and if you would only done that, that would also be sufficient, and so on and so on. And then like adding more things, okay? It's like, if he had brought us up from Egypt and had not inflicted judgment upon the Egyptian, it would have been sufficient. We would be happy, even if you wouldn't have been inflicting the Egyptians. Since you did that, okay, if you had inflicted injustice on them and had not executed judgment upon their gods, it would also been sufficient, like we would have been happy with that. But if already you did that, if you have executed judgment upon their gods and had not slain their firstborn, it would have also been sufficient. You didn't have to do that. But if you did that already, okay, if you had slain their firstborn and had not bestowed their wealth on us, it would have also been sufficient, okay? But if you did, so it goes on and on and on. That's a very Jewish thing, right? It's like, God, I don't need anything more. Okay, but if you're able to do one more thing, it's like it would be really wonderful, and et cetera, et cetera. So you like you even know how to manipulate God in a way that He does more and more for you. And it's just very interesting the way it's described here, right? So it's a song of being grateful for every parts that we have. On page 22 is a very important part. Some people forget this, that there's an obligation to say three things on Passover. Okay, Rabban Gamliel says that whoever does not make mention of three things at the Passover Seder has not done his duty, namely the sacrifice of the Passover, the unleavened bread, and the bitter herbs. So if you go through the whole Seder and you don't have time for anything else, but you only say these three things, you have fulfilled your duty on Passover. Okay, and these are the essence of the things that you need to remember. Passover, okay, which is the Paschal lamb that we talked about it last week. The matzah, which is the unleavened bread that we eat because the dough of our ancestors did not have time to become leavened. Okay, so that is sort of like the food of matzah of Passover, and maror, the bitter herbs, okay, which we eat because the Egyptians embittered the lives of our ancestors in Egypt. So with these three things, we're done with the obligation of Passover. Obviously, we do much more, but this is sort of like the essence of the Passover Seder.
Would that have been Diana?
Right, without it being Dayenu, exactly. And another part which I really like on page 23, in the middle, Bechol do vado. In every generation, each individual is bound to regard himself as if he had gone personally forth from Egypt. Okay, so we have an obligation, and actually in my family, we pick up a mirror and we look at ourselves because it says, each individual bound to regard himself as he had gone personally forth from Egypt. And in Hebrew it says to see himself. You need to see yourself like you left Egypt. So you look in the mirror and it's like, oh, this is me. It's like I left Egypt. I have to feel like I left Egypt in that day. So that feeling of like, oh, I left Egypt is really important. And it's sort of like also an obligation that the rabbis are saying that you're not just celebrating something that, you know, your ancestors did and that's why you're doing it because we've been doing it for thousands of years. You're doing it because you want to feel like you have left Egypt yourself. Every generation and every year, again and again, you reenact that part in you. It's like part of the Jewish DNA. Okay? Then we, on page 26, we do the washing of the hands, blessing over the matzah, we eat the maror, and we do that famous sandwich that was done in the temple with the bitter herbs, the maror, with the charoset, okay, and you eat it all together, and that's a very important mitzvah, to eat that part as well. Okay, I wanted to also talk about some Passover foods, okay, which is interesting. You probably know a lot of them, but right, make this a little larger. Just a little smaller. Okay, so matzah brai, okay,
Very good.
Good.
very good. It's Ashkenazi, classic Ashkenazi food.
But Rabbi, didn't
yeah.
you tell us last week?
Yes.
It's like matzah brai,
Yes,
it's like no.
Right, for Chabad, it's a no, okay,
It's wet.
because once you wet the matzah, you risk like rebaking it, okay, and then it becomes like leavened bread according to their Chabad approach. That is not accepted by most rabbis. Most rabbis allow that and disregard, but it's a prohibition of Chabad, okay?
Is that just Chabad or other Orthodox?
Maybe other
It's the best
extreme
thing
Orthodox, but most Orthodox
It's
don't
the
go
be-
by
The
that,
best thing about
okay?
breakfast.
Yeah,
So then could you say the same thing, cause I'm looking at what's on your list next, matzah kugel.
right, so the kugel is made, with matzah instead of noodles, so yeah, they would not eat a kugel either.
Okay,
Okay, they would eat a potato kugel,
got it.
okay?
Oh.
With
Or a carrot
with
kugel,
potato
yeah.
starch, yeah.
But
But
not
they
the
wouldn't,
matzah for the
they wouldn't use the matzah mill,
the same reason.
okay?
But isn't that, you put egg in it too, isn't the egg wet?
No, I know, but you don't have the matzah in it, you don't have the matzah mill,
Oh, okay.
okay? The
A matzah kugel.
yeah, a
Oh.
matzah kugel has yeah. Charoset, okay, so there are different ways of doing it, we talked about that. The chrein, which is the horseradish, or it's like purple paste, which you eat together with the gefilte fish, which is the next thing, which is poached fish patties or fish balls. I don't know if anyone here makes gefilte fish or you buy them. Yeah, oh, look at that. You buy the fish?
I buy the fish.
Oh, and you grind it? Oh,
Wow.
wow,
Wow.
that is something.
Does it have does it have matzah meal in it?
Yes.
Yeah,
So it's the same kind of thing though, that Chabad would object to.
right, but we don't
Alright,
go
just
by
wanna
that
understand.
practice. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
A little bit of tapeworm.
Yeah,
guess
but
the fish in the bathtub?
Chabad would have gefilte fish, but without matzah
The
meal,
matzah.
without matzah meal.
My
okay?
grandmother kept the fish in the bathtub.
Everybody
Why?
had to
Why?
have the fish in the bathtub.
Why?
Yeah.
Keep it alive.
Yeah, you wanna keep it
Yeah.
fresh, yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think it's fresher than
And then you
alive.
just bang it in the head a little bit, and then
Sounds
and then you
fabulous.
start eating it, yeah.
And
Yeah,
Question. Today, in the market, you can find all kinds of things that they say, that are made kosher for Passover. You can get noodles that are kosher
right,
for Passover. And to me, that was always, and I'm not observant about very much,
uh-huh,
but I just cannot bring myself to eat like noodles that
Oh.
are kosher for Passover.
yeah, it's interesting, it's the same, in Israel, they started making pizza for Passover, they use like
It just
a
seems,
dough, which is like potato starch, or they use like like other flours that are not, like gluten free, yeah, cauliflower, yeah, exactly. And they also have buns, they actually have like real buns that they make out of matzah meal and stuff like that, and a lot of people are like, no, I can't eat that, that's like eating
it
chametz,
just seems
doesn't
to-
feel right,
It doesn't, and a funny, very funny
it's like,
story, many years
fake
ago.
bacon bits.
When they first started coming out with all of this stuff, and Hughes Market, which was the market we used to have, used to give you white
Oh,
bags
yes,
for
it was-
Passover.
it was
They would
so
put your
lovely.
Passover
Oh,
food in a
wow.
white bag to keep it separate from.
Nice.
Oh, it was
In the
lovely.
corner of the dining room, I had the stuff that I had gotten from the supermarket, and it was in the white bag. And I bought a package of noodles that were Passover noodles, and they're in the bag, and I had these doubts about buying it. But I bought it, and we had a dog at that point, it was Muffin, it was the dog that we got at a sisterhood
Oh, really?
auction. So, and we were out one night and the dog got into the bag, I guess, maybe he sniffed the noodles and smelled them through this, anyhow, he took out the noodles and he just destroyed the bag, and we came home and we found pieces of noodles
Oh
all
my
over
God,
the floor,
what a mess.
and I cleaned it up, but it was like, I took that as an omen.
Right, you're right, you should have it.
I shouldn't have had the
You should
noodles.
have it. Yeah,
Even the dog wouldn't eat it.
Even the dog wouldn't eat it, and I remember telling Rabbi Shulman the story, and he said they don't taste good at all, and the dog was smart.
Yeah.
But every
funny.
year I think about the noodles, the Passover
That's
noodles,
great.
and I don't buy them.
I think it's
It's a great
interesting
story.
that
Yeah,
There are a lot of foods that are kosher for Pesach during the year, but the manufacturers put labels on. Like I get orange juice, so now
Right.
it's kosher
Right,
for Pesach.
right.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it, but there, a few other foods like that.
Oh, that bubble gum kosher for Passover, I mean.
Oh, wow.
yeah.
But I know like
Marshmallows.
Coca-Cola, that's the
Potatoes.
time of the year that they clean, they give
Well, that's
their,
something.
all of the equipment a thorough cleaning. So if there's anything that
Yeah,
would have been
Potato chips kosher for Passover.
Yeah.
Well,
got
it's
into
like,
it, so that's why
yeah.
everything is,
No, I was just gonna say, growing up in New York, you know, Passover time, the supermarkets and the Passover section had like milk, they had everything that we
Yeah.
would have, and it was all kosher for Passover.
Hmm.
And I mean, my thought was always that, you know, whoever was bringing this to market had like cleaned and, you know, made
Yeah.
kosher
right.
their facility to really, and have everything blessed by Rabbi to have it kosher for Passover. And it was like everything that you would eat, you know, Passover in a family, they had in the market stand.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big, it's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
very
it was
big
like for
industry.
real, yeah.
Yeah, it's a big industry, that part.
By the way, I was
Okay,
in Ralph's at Crest yesterday, and I asked
Oh.
the butcher about the shank bones, and he said they typically get them every year, but they haven't gotten them in yet.
oh, okay.
my shank bone is an antique.
So is mine.
Mine is 100 years
What?
old already.
I have my
saved it.
shank bone in the freezer for at least 10 years.
Yeah.
Only
It's in the
10?
back, in the plastic bag, and
Wow.
you don't need it, so
Yeah,
I
I've
just.
got mine like
Yeah,
for
it's-
50 years.
That's smart.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
And
we
I
gave it
bought
to
it
his
as a
presents.
Okay.
I had loaded it, so I had loaded to run
I hope-
home and pick
I hope the police never goes through your freezer. I hope the police never goes through your freezer and finds like this ancient bone there, and it's like you could
But
be
you could
accused
go
of.
through a lot of our freezers
Yeah.
and find the same thing.
Yeah,
Because the
really.
kosher butchers, they're kind of annoyed
Wow.
to just give you a bone.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Wow.
I never know what it
You don't
is,
need
it's a
it.
bone.
anyway.
But a lot of the markets are
Yes.
aware.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not all of them, but,
No, much
Interesting.
harder to get a bone here than it is back east.
Right.
Much
Yeah.
harder.
Oh, yeah, everything is
So
harder
you
here.
bring your bone with you from the East
Yeah,
Coast.
you carry it with you. You move with
Yeah,
your bone.
you vote, you move.
be interesting getting
It's a
through
family
TSA
asset.
with the
It's a
bone.
family,
Is that a
heirloom, yeah.
carry-on?
pass
Do
it
you
down
check
like
it?
Yeah, of course. They'll be very happy.
what is the custom, I believe, it's Fardic where who beat themselves with,
Oh, yeah, well, it's more like a game in this.
yeah, but.
Yeah, but it's,
A chicken around the head.
That's
oh, no,
Rosh
no, that,
Hashanah.
yeah, no, yeah,
The
that's for
chicken
Yom Kippur and
around
Rosh
the
Hashanah.
head.
No, that is really, sort of like, it became like a game. It's like, it's like to arouse, people to think, to sort of like be up and awake and,
In case they fell asleep during the.
yeah, so you like, you play around with it, but you're really supposed to just like go like this, sort of like you're sprinkling the spring. You're
What
bringing
is
like
it that
the,
they,
I haven't seen the Sephardi Jews or the Muslims.
no, the Sephardi Jews.
The Sephardi Jews.
And there was a
Um,
picture somewhere of,
Yeah.
around a Seder table.
that
and
they
they're
were doing
all-
this.
Yeah,
They're all-
green onions.
Yeah, no, I've seen that as well, but I don't know. That's a good question. Okay, in any event, the Ashkenazi food, so there's the chicken soup and the matzah balls, and the Passover noodles, which we talked about extensively today.
A question about the
the
matzo
Sephardi
balls.
foods.
How many people are always worried their matzo balls are too heavy and not light enough?
Well, it depends, some families really like this, there's sinkers and floaters, and it just depends on how
Well,
families.
If you don't do it, if you don't do it strong
Okay,
enough.
Maxine's
Yeah.
family has a thing where they put a raisin in the middle of a matzo ball, and whoever gets that gets a prize.
Ah.
So I decided to do that.
Oh,
Okay, but I didn't want anybody to feel like they didn't get a prize.
oh,
So I put a raisin in every one of the matzo balls.
That's neat, I like that.
So so the first, I can't even say this hardly in public. The first person who finds that, who put this crap in my matzo ball? This is and then the whole room is screaming at me,
yeah.
ruined my
Okay,
matzo ball.
Tradition.
Oh,
right,
it's so
tradition.
hysterical. Never did it
That's
again.
funny. Okay, but in terms of the Sephardi foods, okay, so they have the kaftekas de prasa, fried balls made of leeks, meat, and matzah meal. So this is something they might be serving during, as hors d'oeuvres before the meal. The lamb or chicken leg, a symbol of God's strong hand, and the korban pesach, this paschal lamb. Mina, pastel de pesach, a meat spinach pie made with matzahs. And Sephardi charoset is usually made of figs, raisin, dates. Egyptian Jews use dates, raisin, walnuts, cinnamon, and sweet wine, while Greek and Turkey Jews use apples, dates, chopped almonds, and wine. Italian Jews add chestnuts, and Iraqi Jews make charoset from a mixture of dates and nuts. Okay, and they add the date honey, the silan. And my brother-in-law is Iraqi, so we get to eat their charoset. That's special, very special charoset every year. And spring green vegetables, artichoke, fava beans, peas. Okay, because Sephardi Jews eat beans, so then they eat all of these. So they would bring all of these to the table during the karpas at the beginning. So you have a whole meal before the meal, so everyone is like sort of like relaxed in that sense. Okay, so we're out of time, but in the synagogue, Passover in the synagogue, the only things that, we say the Hallel in the morning and during all the days of Passover, but you also say it in the evening in the land of Israel. It's a very interesting custom. The only time you say it in the evening, and you also say it on Yom Ha'atzmaut, on Independence Days, which is a more modern custom. But usually you don't say Hallel in the evening, and you say Morid Tal. So because this is the springtime, so we stop saying like Morid Geshem, which is like the praying for the rain, because now we're not praying for the rain anymore. We're praying for the dew to come, and we're going to wait till the winter begins. So we change that part of the prayer as well. We also say the Song of Songs, Shir HaShirim, because that talks about the renewal of nature. We on the seventh day we read about the crossing of the Red Sea, Shirat Hayam, and we also start counting the Omer. The Omer is the 49 days after Passover. After the first night of Passover, it's 49 days that lead to the holiday of Shavuot, which is when the people of Israel got the Torah on Mount Sinai. So counting of the Omer, the Omer is sort of like a measurement of wheat, that every day we sort of like count it, because on Passover we start eating the new grains, and as opposed to, until Passover we use the old grains, and now from Passover we start using the new grains, and the Omer is like a measurement of a grain. So we every day leading up to the holiday of Shavuot, we count it with a blessing during our evening services. And Passover and other traditions and religions, first of all, there's Easter, okay, Pascha, which is, Pascha, right, sounds like Passover. It's a holiday, it's the same holiday of the Jews that the Christians celebrate as well. The early Christians celebrated on Passover as well, okay, because according to their tradition, Jesus, who was a good Jew, celebrated Passover and, ascended up to heaven, and then descended according to tradition, and that happens on Passover, which is Easter as well, which was just, the Christians just celebrated that this Sunday.
That's why they have the Last Supper.
Yeah, so the Passover, that was the supper, the Jesus' last words was with the matzah in his mouth.
Although I think
Okay?
Leonardo da Vinci put a loaf of bread on the.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
table.
Yeah, he didn't know. Da Vinci did not know.
I saw a cartoon picture of the Last Supper and there was a box of matzah on it.
Right, exactly. And the Muslim have this interesting holiday which is called Ashura, which is the 10th day, which has to do maybe with the Paschal Lamb, and according to them, it happens on the 10th day. The crossing of the Red Sea happened. Doesn't work out exactly with the Jewish calendar, but that's according to their tradition, and it's a very big holiday in the Sunni and the Shiite world, and they go and they beat themselves up as well on this day, sort of like for a sign of mourning, because one of the early Muslim leaders was killed at that time. So these are and the Samaritans, which are sort of like the sect of Judaism that follows only the Bible. They celebrate Passover and they still do the Paschal Lamb. In Israel, they have a temple, which is in the city of Shechem. It's on the top of a mountain there. They sacrifice a Paschal Lamb, and it's a very big, important holiday for them, and they follow the Bible law, the ceremony that's in the Bible, that even the Jews don't do it anymore. They do it exactly according to the way it's in the Bible. Yeah.
Question. I know that you can't get married or have a haircut, I think, during the Omer except
Right.
on Lag BaOmer. So why is that?
Right, so during the 49 days of Omer, like at least until a certain part, which is usually till Lag BaOmer, some people say the first month, there are traditions that you don't celebrate, like you don't grow your, you don't cut your hair, you don't shave, you don't use music, you don't go to weddings and things like that. It's like a mourning period. It's not very clear where it comes. The traditional answer is because of Rabbi Akiva and his students. Okay, Rabbi Akiva was a great rabbi, and his students started fighting amongst each other. There are different sects there, and the different sects were fighting each other, were actually even like violent toward each other, and were not nice to each other, and they got the plague, and 24,000 of them died in that plague, according to the legend. Okay, we don't have any historical documentation of this, but the people of Israel sort of like mourn for those 24,000 students that were killed over that period of time. But today there are a lot of traditions that say that you can shave your beard. A lot of people don't do haircuts, but it's like, people of not observing these traditions as much. And also, especially like during COVID, so some rabbis said, you know what, it's so hard to get people married these days, because of COVID and everything. So we will do it, even though it's like the counting of the Omer period. Okay, so that's where that comes from. Okay.
So you don't get married and cut your hair.
Yeah, that's another time. That's when we get to
That's
Tisha
another
B'Av,
lecture.
Yeah, that's another lecture, but you're right, that's also a period that you don't get married. Okay.